Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the ACHA Power Play. We are live here, back and better than ever. We're back on 12-ounce sports. Want to take a minute to thank Jeff and all the guys, Jeff Beck and all the guys and gals at 12-ounce sports for bringing us back. We're going to finish what we started as we were on here for a few years, took a little hiatus, but we're back on 12-ounce sports. And again, excited to be back here bringing you the ACHA Power Play. The road to St. Louis is, I'm telling you, it's just around the bend now. I think we're less than 6 weeks to go till the national tournament. So we're going to go through all the rankings here tonight in all 5 divisions, give you kind of a look at what to expect here coming up. The regionals in men's Division 2 are coming up in about a month. But before that, we want to bring in our first special guest. She is the head coach of the University of Michigan's women's ACHA D1 program, Jenna Trubiano. Jenna, thanks again for coming back on the show. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm doing all right. It's hockey season still. We had a little football intermission, but now we're all focused on hockey now, so that's great.
Well, you know, that's allowed to be able to take a little bit of a break to focus on that national championship. That must have been fun for you and the gals over the holiday and then through January.
Definitely. It's something that was my first experience winning a national championship as an affiliate of the school, now an alumni. And I think it's something really special that our players were able to experience. So it's just a great community to be in. I love Ann Arbor. So it's really cool to have that experience for our players and know and see what it takes to win a national championship.
Well, we've only got, I think you're down to 6 games left in the regular season, if I'm not mistaken. Where's the time gone? It seems like just last week we were here on the show talking about how it's 6 months to go before St. Louis, but now you can kind of see it off in the distance. 6 games left. How, in your eyes, Jenna, has the season gone for you?
I think overall really well. This past weekend we learned a lot. 2 losses to Adrian, but we did beat Michigan Dearborn, which was a big win for us. Earlier in the year, we went down to St. Louis and played some really strong opponents and played some really good hockey. So we know this group can get it done. They know they can get it done. And the expectation is that we return to the national championship. That's what our expectation was before the season started. And I think now with 6 games left, we're all in. We were all in before, but we've got less distraction because football season's over. So our second semester is usually really, really condensed because of that. So prepped the team before practice yesterday that we've got 6 games and just got to keep grinding at this point.
Isn't it crazy? You know, we talked to all the coaches, and I think you and I talked about it last year when you were on. That first semester, it's kind of a marathon, but now, there's no time for marathons. You guys got to step it up a notch. The gals have to, and you can sense it in some of the games that I've watched already since the semester started.
Yeah, it's definitely a grind. Just a lot of hockey, a lot of trying to balance academics and everything else they have going on around campus. Hockey's obviously a commitment and a priority for them, but at the same time, academics at Michigan that's why they're there. It's what admitted them to the university in the first place. So we want to make sure that we're allowing time for them to get whatever they need to get done so that they can come to the rink and go to work.
What did your gals take from the trip to Boston last year in the national tournament? What did they learn from that? What was the biggest thing?
The biggest thing is that we deserve to be there. And ultimately, anybody can beat anybody. It doesn't matter if you're a 9 or a 10 seed. All it takes is one game. So that's the expectation this year. And we know that we have to be on our A game every single game, every period, every shift, every battle. So that's what we've learned. And just the tradition of excellence, too. Obviously, the programs in the top 10, a lot of them are I would say more supported than us in a lot of ways. I work full time in addition to coaching, but I think the rankings just came out at 6 o'clock of the top 10 programs, I think most or all of them have a full-time head coach. So that's something that's really different for our program. So I'm trying to manage expectations of myself and working with our players to make sure that their needs are met as well, because every year they want more out of the coaching staff, which is great, and I'm willing to give it. It's just trying to find that balance of everything. But yeah, we deserve to be in the top 10. The players know that. They've earned it, but we've got to, like you said, it's kind of a sprint at this point. So we need to make sure that everybody's on and just finish strong.
Boy, Jenna, we're joined by head coach Jenna Trubiano from the University of Michigan Women's ACHA Division I team. You bring up a great point too. I've kept an eye on, I've really gotten to like the women's brand over the last few years, and the top 10 teams, you touched on it. You're so close. I mean, I know you've got the Liberties who've won the last 5, but I think the margin is so much closer now, and it is so tight from 1 to 10 with all of those teams. It's amazing.
It really is. There's been quite a lot of movement in the top 10, I think, this year. There's some teams that have stayed where they're at, but if you look at the rankings, the computer rankings and how those averages actually come out to what the final ranking is, you can see how close it actually is. Like, I think we're actually tied for a 6.5 average with McKendree. So we're at 6, McKendree's at 7. So like, if there's any fluctuation, you could jump up, you could drop down. So there's just a lot of, it's really competitive. So it's exciting, but at the same time, it's why every game counts from here on out.
Yeah. I want to talk about your team real quick. You and I talked about this last year, how much emphasis you put on defense. And I look at your goaltending stats, and those numbers, Jenna, are incredible. What your ladies are doing on the defensive side of the ice.
Oh, thank you. We've got 2 great goaltenders. Poneth, obviously our returner. She's in her 3rd season. And we actually, past 2 seasons, only had 1 goaltender in Poneth. So she was playing every game. We've added some depth with Emma Johns, who's a first-year student. She comes from Grand Rapids Griffins. So she's a Michigan resident, I guess I should say.
Right.
But yeah, she's played, I think, 4 games so far this season. I'm hoping to get her in some more games, but it's been really nice to have 2 goaltenders we can rely on, and also take some pressure off of Poneth, because we've been riding Poneth for 2 seasons at this point. And ultimately, with us wanting to play more games and play a more competitive schedule, we need to have depth at every position, including goaltending.
And I look at your on the offensive side, very consistent. And every coach that I talk to, Jenna, when you've got a consistent scoring team where you can roll out 3 to 4 lines and not worry about it, and I see that with your team as well.
And we're definitely pretty balanced this year compared to previous years or teams that I even played on when I was at Michigan. We definitely have the depth this year, which is nice. It's more so getting players in a rhythm and in a groove with that depth, and also understanding their role at the same time.
I mean, I've seen teams on the men's and women's level where they've got one or two players that, I don't know, you get one that has 75 points and one that may have 55 points. I remember watching a gal from Northern Michigan. I think she had like 95 points, and the next highest player was like 19 or something. How difficult is that as a coach to is it more difficult, less difficult? How is that to prepare for?
I think with every team, I'll scout our opponent, look at stats, look at video, see what we're up against, let the team know, maybe show the team some clips so that they're aware. With those teams that are built around one player, it's a lot easier to defend because you know exactly what they're trying to do. Whereas the teams that have more depth and more scoring threats, it's more difficult. So, yeah, I think we've done a better job this year preparing for specific opponents because every team's built a little bit differently. And what's been nice is that I think for the most part, most teams have some sort of game film that we can easily access. So that's been super helpful. Whereas back when I played, 10 years ago at this point, it wasn't super common for teams to have broadcasts all over the place.
Yeah.
So we're very fortunate. We've got Arbor Broadcasting who broadcasts all of our games. So I'm sure other teams are utilizing that resource for us, but we're reciprocating in a lot of ways.
They do a great job, by the way. That's awesome that you have that,
Yeah.
and I think that's got to make the girls feel good too, to be able to have that to watch and their families can keep up with them.
Definitely. And it's helped recruiting too. We have quite a few out-of-state students, and a lot of their families do make the trip, but sometimes they can't make it. So it's nice to have that option for them. And just as we're going through the application cycle now, it is something that comes up. I do ask students, how did you find out about our program? Because my path to Michigan was really by chance, I would say. It was never on my radar, even being from the state of Michigan. So it's really interesting to hear how students have found our program. A lot of it is through social media, or somebody sent them a link to the Arbor Broadcasting Coaches Show. It's really interesting to see where our interest is coming from, or where it's generated. So it's definitely a huge tool. And we really appreciate Arbor Broadcasting as well. They've been phenomenal. Everything they do is, we don't pay for their services. It's all volunteer by them. So we want to make sure that when they do travel with us, our parents and families make sure that they're taken care of, which is nice.
That's awesome. So you guys went up, your team went up to the Traverse City Showcase.
We did.
I've talked to, when I broadcasted the Aquinas games a couple of years ago, I talked to their coaches. They love going up there. Do you guys enjoy that little three-game getaway up there?
Yeah, for us, it was pretty quick this year. So we played at Michigan Dearborn Friday night, and then we bussed up to Traverse City Saturday morning, and then came back Sunday after the Aquinas game. So it was pretty quick for us, but it's a nice trip. The weather was really nice. We were able to go to the Blue Tractor in downtown Traverse City and enjoy that as a team. And they have a connection to the Ann Arbor area and the University of Michigan as well. So that was really cool to see that space up there. And one of our students, Kelsey Swanson, she's actually from Traverse City. So that was, I think, the first time in X amount of years that her grandparents got to see her play. So that was really special to be able to share that experience with her and her family. It's a good spot up there. That rink's really nice. So we had a really great setup in the Red Wings locker room too. So
sweet.
The only complaint I have is the outcome of one of those games, but we learned.
Yeah. Now, is Michigan State your biggest rival? If not, who is your biggest rival?
I've got quite a lot of rivals now. I would say good. Historically, Michigan State's been one. Adrian's a big rival for us.
Oh boy, I bet.
Something that's emerged pretty quickly as a rivalry with Dearborn, because I think a lot of people throw us in the same boat a lot of times, or they don't differentiate between our programs, but we are two different campuses, two different registrars, two completely different experiences.
Right.
And every time we do play them, it's physical. And, I have no further comment on that, but
I will have to watch that game then when you guys have them one more time. I'm glad you brought it up. I will have to watch that. All right. Yep. That's awesome. You've got, knock on wood. Let's hope that you get to go to St. Louis, but this weekend is your last big road trip out to Penn State, correct? What do you, I'm assuming you've scouted them a little bit. What type of style hockey can you expect from them this weekend?
They're usually always pretty solid. They get a lot of East Coast kids. They have a couple players, specifically one that produces quite a lot. So that's something that we'll be mindful of. Another thing I've talked with our team about is the turnaround time between games. So our Friday night game is at 9:15 p.m. and then we play the next morning at 8:30.
My.
2 games within 24 hours with minimal rest or sleep between is going to be a challenge. But if anybody can do it, it's this group. I'm sure they've stayed up late to write papers or finish a project or whatever it is.
They're young. They're young.
Yep. We'll be back Saturday night. They'll have a couple days off. So all we're asking is that when we're on this trip and we're at the rink, we're focused, we're prepared, we focus on the details and keep it simple, and we'll be successful if we do that.
So if there's one thing that you think the gals have to work on for your stretch run, what would that be?
I think it's just really believing in ourselves. At some point over the weekend, our first Adrian game, I think we came out a little flat. It's always tough to play in Adrian. It always has been. It probably always will be.
Right.
But I hope we see them again. And we haven't lost a whole lot this season, which is great.
Yeah.
But it is something that we will learn from. So I had a conversation with a few of our players, a few of our leaders last night of what we need to do moving forward, what they feel the coaching staff needs to do. And we're all on the same page, which is really nice.
So I have to ask you, it's funny is I'm obviously not a player, I'm a broadcaster. When I get to nationals, I get that excitement. I get that little bundle of nerves before the first couple of broadcasts, believe it or not. As a coach, be honest with me, Jenna, were you a little nervous for the first game last year, or were you just wound up and ready to go?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
I think it helped that it was a team that we had played before in Adrian, so we had seen them. So that helped, I think. And as a player, we made the national tournament, so I had that experience.
Okay.
But, with our group last year, that was the first time any of them had been to the national tournament.
Yeah.
So for me, I was trying to, stay calm, stay level-headed, just bring that calming presence of like, we've been here before. We know what we have to do. We've seen this team. And we have a lot of experience that returned for this season that's on Team 28. So
Excellent.
They know what it takes to get to the national tournament. They know what to expect. The venue that the national tournament is at is the venue or a venue that we played at when we were in St. Louis earlier this year. So we're familiar, which I think is really, really nice. And we're not sort of going in blind to a facility we haven't seen before. So I think if we add all that together, I think there's just a lot of excitement at this point. Like I said, the expectation is that we're going to get there. That's what we've been preparing for. That's what the new members and first year players are expecting. That's what we discussed before they were on the team. So I think with all those factors in place, myself having more experience as a coach in general, I think we're sitting pretty good.
Jenna, thank you very much for taking time out tonight. I know it was short notice, and it's always fun catching up. Good luck with the rest of the regular season.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, and hope to see you down in St. Louis. If I do, I'll make sure to say hi. And again, good luck.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
She's Jenna Trubiano, the head coach of the University of Michigan's women's ACHA D1 team on the road to nationals, as we like to call it now, the St. Louis. That's their goal, and taking time out to be with us here on the show. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. Wow, it's getting me fired up. I got to tell you, we're less than 6 weeks away, as I said. The women's tournament is March 13th through the 17th down in St. Louis, and they get the kind of nice thing is they get the stage all to themselves on the final day. And the D1 tournament is a little bit different. It's kind of like the men's D1. It's single elimination, but then double elimination, and you get buys. It's a little bit different the way it is bracketed. So, but the first round teams, if they win, obviously they move on, they get a bye. If they lose, they get a second chance in the double elimination. It's but it really is an exciting tournament. And as Coach Trubiano mentioned, it is one of those, you can't really take any time off. You can't take a period off or a shift off, take a couple of unnecessary penalties, get yourself behind the 8 ball, because it is so crucial in that format. It's not like the D2 for the women or the D2 and D3 for the men's, where there's pool play, where you may be able to survive a loss and win your pool. It's rare, but you may be able to do it. But so, the attention to detail has got to be spot on. And again, there's no room for error. And they had a couple of tough games last year in the national tournament, a couple of one goal losses, but I know they've learned from it, and I can tell that they're ready to go for this stretch run. But first up for Michigan is Penn State, as Jenna mentioned, and then they've got 3 home games left, I believe, Concordia and Michigan Dearborn. And see if I can bring up the last one here that they've got. My handy dandy computer. They've got Lake Superior State for 2, and of course that U of M Dearborn game at Yost. That's going to be a fun watch on February 16th. I'm going to have to keep my eye out on that. Like I said, got to like the rivalries in hockey. They're just like any sport, but I think that's what I love about hockey. I think the rivalries get ratcheted up just a little bit more. So again, thank you to head coach Jenna Trubiano from the University of Michigan Women's ACHA D1 program, looking to make that return trip to nationals. Still to come at the bottom of the hour, Tanner Burton's going to join us. He is the head coach of Sault College's ACHA men's D2 program. Of course, you remember Sault College, the run they had a few years back in D3, where they were about as dominant as you could get in a tournament run. And now they've moved up a class. They've made it to the regionals. I know they were going to make it to nationals in the COVID year. They're sitting right about in the middle of the pack in the central region, but Tanner's going to join us, and we'll talk about what's going on with them, as he is now the new coach for the men's D2 team up in Sault College. So we'll talk to him at the bottom of the hour. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll go through some of the rankings, including the women's D1 rankings, as Coach Trubiano mentioned, just released about an hour ago. So we'll get you up to date on those rankings. But first, we'll take a break. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It's live here on 12 Ounce Sports, and of course the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, again to the ACHA Power Play. We are live here on 12 Ounce Sports. Again, great to be back on the 12 Ounce Sports Network. Want to thank Jeff Beck and all the gang for welcoming us back here. And as we mentioned, we're going to finish what we started. We're going to bring you all the content now for the ACHA Power Play live here on 12 Ounce Sports. We'll be on every Tuesday night through the national tournament, and we'll have live updates from St. Louis as well. The site of the national tournament, March 7th through the 17th. And there's 5 divisions, as we mentioned, 3 in men's, 2 in women's. The men's D1 division, now the tournament field this year has been expanded. It's now 24 teams. So you get 8, some great first round matchups. The top 8 teams get first round buys, single elimination there. But it starts with the men's D1 and D3 on March 7th. They go through the 12th, and then the men's D2 team starts on the 11th, and then the women's on the 12th and D2, and the women's D1 start on the 13th. So a big tournament coming up, the road to St. Louis 2024, and we're excited to be a part of it. My tag team partner for the national broadcast will be Peyton Turnage, and Peyton and really looking forward to bringing you those games on Flow TV, Flow Hockey. So that's going to be the home of the national tournament broadcast. But we as a group here at the ACHA Power Play will be live in St. Louis. We'll have extravagant few minutes updates from there as well. And we'll try to sneak in a couple of live shows towards the end of maybe one of the nights of broadcast. We'll keep you up to date on how that's all going to work out. But we're excited to be there again. It'll be my 8th year being affiliated with the national broadcast down with the ACHA. So again, really looking forward to bringing you that. Many thanks again to Jenna Trubiano, the head coach of the ACHA women's D1 team at the University of Michigan, for joining us here earlier on the show. And again, Tanner Burton scheduled to join us here in about 5 minutes. But I want to get into the rankings real quick for the women's D1. And as Jenna mentioned, just came hot off the presses, and the 1 and 2 teams keep flip-flopping each week. It's either Midland or it's Liberty or Midland. Liberty, of course, I believe they're going for one for the thumb this year, 5 straight national championships, but they keep bouncing back and forth each year with the rankings. So again, Midland on top, Liberty is second. Adrian College, we talked about them. They had a weekend sweep of the University of Michigan, so they're third. Minot State, fourth. They were in the tournament final last year. And then you've got Maryville at 5, Michigan at 6, McKendree at 7, Indiana Tech at 8, Michigan Dearborn at 9, and Jamestown at 10. So there's 3 automatic bids for the national tournament in the women's. The Central Collegiate Women's Hockey Association, the Western Women's Collegiate Hockey League, and the Women's Midwest Collegiate Hockey League. Each one of those conferences get 1 automatic berth, so there are 7 at-large bids. So obviously you want to stay right in that top 6, top 7 to guarantee yourself a spot in the national tournament. Once you get there, all bets are off. It's like I said, with double elimination for the first couple of rounds, it's anything goes. But it's wide open. And I know again that Liberty and Midland have been kind of flopping back and forth all year at number 1 and number 2. But again, with those 3 auto bursts and you've got the 7 at-large teams, your best, it's going to make for some exciting hockey. And it's wide open. We talk about the wide open field, but the speed of that of Division I women's hockey is incredible. That's the one thing I picked up on, and the attention to detail too. I know it sounds very cliche-ish or basic, but that's really what it is. It's like any level of hockey. Once you get to tournament play, obviously the defense is a little bit better, but the mistakes are fewer. You don't see as many penalties, and it's just crisper. And that's one of the things that I cannot wait to be a part of here with the national tournament here in St. Louis, coming up in approximately 5.5 weeks. Let's see, March 7th is a Thursday, so I believe that's 5 weeks. So we're looking at 37 days. We'll just leave it at that. So, all right. Speaking of someone looking to get to the national tournament right now, let's see if we can't bring our next guest in. He is the head coach of the Sioux College Cougars of the men's Division II, and that's Tanner Burton. Tanner, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Hi, Lou. Good. Thanks for having me.
Oh, the pleasure's mine. It seems like we've been trying to get on, hook up for about a month now, is for one reason or another. I guess my first question is, how are you feeling?
Yeah, no, I'm feeling all right. Last week in practice, errant slap shot missed the net, hit me in the side of the head. So, yeah.
Oh, my.
So, spent some time in the ER and a little time recovering, but I'm okay.
So, if I see you at the regional tournament in Grand Rapids, are you going to be on the bench with a helmet on to make sure the shield?
Yeah, or that or some bubble wrap. Yeah.
Oh, my. Yeah, between you with that and me with COVID and everything else going on, my goodness, I'll tell you, it's been quite 2024 to start out. But anyways, welcome, Tanner, to the show. This is an absolute treat. We're talking with Jenna Trubiano, the head coach of Michigan's women's D1 coach, and they have 6 games left. But my goodness, Tanner, you've only got 3 regular season games left on your schedule. Man, your season's flown by even quicker.
It's flown by, yeah. We've had some success. We've had some games where, not so much success, but with such a short schedule, there's no room for error. So, and with the rankings and the algorithm, you got to play your best.
How much time do you spend studying those rankings, the algorithm, the computer, all of that as a coach? Does it give you nightmares at all?
Yeah, I'm an accountant, so I'm kind of a math guy, and I still can't figure it out. So I just trust that the league and John Eccles is doing the right thing. So and they're good for the most part. So
awesome. John's a great guy. I got to make sure I say that. I got to we got to make sure we say that all the time. But really, seriously, he is. He's a good dude.
He is. He's a really good guy.
So you're taking over the head position. Mike was a great, talk about a great guy. You're taking over for a very, very solid program. How was that becoming the head man there and taking over for Mike?
Oh, it's been really, he's a great predecessor, right? So he's a big hockey name in Sault Ste. Marie. Big shoes to fill, but it's been good. He's been there in the background if I've had questions. So he's not totally, obsolete, riding it off into the sunset. He's still a hockey guy in town. So he's very approachable. You could talk to him about anything. So it's been a really good transition.
Boy, I was going to say, you'd have to change all the locks and do something else to try to keep him away from a hockey rink, I'll bet.
Exactly. Yeah.
So as a head coach, as opposed maybe as an assistant or whatever, what's been the biggest challenge for you, Tanner, as the head guy now?
Well, just being an assistant last year, and then you have your returning players know you in that role, and then you're kind of the buddy guy with them, right? Making sure everything's good between them and the head coach. And now all of a sudden you're the head coach, and you got to kind of sometimes lay the hammer down, and it's a different relationship that you have with some of your players. So I'd say that's the biggest challenge so far, but we've adapted. It's been good. Our leaders are playing a big role with that and getting guys on board with my voice, and so it's been good. It's been good.
So your team can put the puck in the net. It's one of the things I've noticed with you guys. Ethan Esposito, 30 goals. Nick Jamius with 40 helpers to go to 6 goals. That's huge. That's a nice pair to have just to start off with.
Oh yeah. We're fortunate with Ethan coming back this year, and then Nick Jamius we acquired right before school started. He decided he was going to come home to his hometown and play for Sault College. Yeah, and he's a magician with the puck. His stick skills are incredible. And then to complement that line, we've got maybe one of the hardest working power forwards in the league, Michael Chaffee, who also has 40 points, and he gets in the corners and he makes sure that like those guys are getting the puck. So that line has been tremendous. And Ethan with his shot, he can rifle a puck and pick a corner. So they complement each other really well.
And I look at Ethan, he's got 8 power play goals, but what really impresses me too, Tanner, is you got a guy like Jackson Jacques with, on defense, able to put the puck in the net, and he's got 4 power play goals. So your special teams looks like it's really doing well so far.
Yeah. Special teams are a big part of our game. We spend a lot of time mastering that because you got to man up, you got to score. So and that's a big part of the game now these days. So and I can't say enough about Jackson Jacques. He logs a lot of minutes for us. He's a big presence on our blue line. So
and I'll never forget when I had Mike on the show a few years ago. This was 4 or 5 years ago now already. He always said, Lou, you never give our goaltending enough credit. You always talk about our firepower. And I've looked, you've got some solid goaltending this year, Tanner, helping to lead your way. Trentus Riley for leading the way for you guys.
Yeah, he's carried the load for the most of the season, but we have Zach Tarantini, who's a returning goalie, who's pushing for that number one spot, and he keeps Trentus on his toes. And then, unfortunately, with Kalen Campbell, he hasn't had much game time. He had an early season injury and hasn't really, he's been battling to try and come back from that. But we have great goaltending. I have no complaints about how we are in net. So we have a pretty strong team. We're looking to do another trip to nationals. It's been a few years since we've been there with COVID and everything, but I think we have the team to do it. So
what's been the biggest pleasant surprise for you coming into this year with since the year started until this weekend?
I'd say the growth of our younger players. So we have a few players that have come out of junior B or high school hockey, and they've ended up logging some serious minutes for us. One in particular, Gabriel Zambaro, we didn't really know how he was. He's an 05 birth year, so he's fresh out of high school. So we kind of took it slow with him at the beginning, but he's just the kind of player. He's like, oh, that was a good play. Oh, look at now he's that was a great game. Oh, and now he's killing penalties. He gets some time on the second unit power play, and he's just earning more ice time every game, and he's just getting better and better. So that was a big surprise for us. And then this second surprise we've had was the utilization of Chase Johnson on defense this year. He tried out for us as a forward, made it. We were short on D, and he's such a smooth skating player that we said, oh, let's try him on defense. So, and he's filled big minutes on D for us. So I'd say those are the two biggest surprises we've had on our team this year.
I want to go back to your 18-year-old. It amazes me. I watch some of these games, and the way the rules are, for college hockey is, the kids that can age out in juniors or whatnot and then still play college. He's holding his own against guys that are 5, 6, 7, almost 8 years older than him. That to me is such a compliment. And that it astonishes me every time I see these young kids being able to do that with kids that, couldn't imagine playing against someone 7 years older than them.
I agree with you. And Gabe is he's just taking it by the horns and he's going with it. So we're really proud of how he's developed, and he's just such a smart hockey player. He knows how to get in and get out, and he's not overly big either. He's maybe 5'9", 140 pounds. So he's tiny.
Wow.
But he came, I think, second or third in our fitness testing. He's a very strong kid. So yeah, we're beyond pleased with how he's developed this year.
That's amazing. Holy cow. Yeah. We're joined by Tanner Burton. He is the head coach of Sault College, the men's Division II ACHA team here on the ACHA Power Play. Tanner, Sault College is a 2-year school, as opposed to some of these teams, obviously, that you play in your schedule, and then, in the regionals and hopefully nationals that are 4-year programs that have had kids that have been there for 3 or 4 years. How difficult is that to, not only to recruit for a couple of years, but, how difficult is that for some of these kids to adjust, maybe playing against some of these more veteran teams?
Yeah, exactly. Some of these teams, they've been together 3-4 years. They come in and they grow together at a 4-year school, where you're right. At a 2-year school, you got to come in and you got to adapt to your line mates right away if you're going to be competitive. So it is a challenge. And again, like you said, with recruiting, you can't just, you can't take a kid and say, hey, we want to develop you until their 3rd or 4th year. Well, you only have 2 years. So you need to be recruiting top junior talent at Sault College or any 2-year college in order to be competitive each year, because you usually only have 2 years with them. So it's a struggle, but again, we've surrounded ourselves with good scouting staff around Ontario. We've got a great coaching staff, which provides a good experience for these players. So we're hoping that the experience at Sault College kind of just recruits itself, and our players get former junior players that they've played with, and it's just kind of a cycle. So we do our best to try and give our players a good experience, and that's kind of our philosophy with recruiting. So
how difficult is it for you guys to from a scheduling standpoint to get games being from Canada? Has it gotten any easier over the years? I mean, this is just your first year as a head coach, but I know Mike said at times it could be a little more difficult, but now that you've played in the ACHA for a few years, has the scheduling part gotten any easier, or is it still a kind of a difficult task?
We're still playing more road games than home, but the home games have been coming more often. So it is getting better. It is getting better in terms of scheduling games. We've had some, like Concordia University of Wisconsin. They're a top program in our region, and they've come to us now last year and this year. So we're just trying to attract top teams like them, and do maybe a 2-2. We go there we just finished the weekend at Concordia. They came to us earlier in the season. So I think just by having a strong competitive team each year might keep attracting more competitive teams to come across the border and play us in Canada.
So we mentioned at the top of the interview, you've got 3 games left in the regular season before regional play. What do you think the fellas need to do, Tanner, to work on to, keep the positive vibe going, keep it going, keep the rush going towards regional play coming up the end of February?
For sure. The message now, we're getting into the mentality of, one game loss, could be the end of your season with these rankings. And we play Northern Michigan, who's ranked below us. We play Davenport, who's ranked below us. So it gets to a point where, okay, there's no more room for error.
Yeah.
So the message is, we have to have that desperate mindset where, we need a win and we need it at all costs. So that's kind of the message right now. The guys have been responding really well in practice. We've had a good practice on Monday. Yesterday, we had another one today. So practices are at high pace, so it looks good. We're on the right track.
So I always ask first-time guests, tell us a little bit about yourself, Tanner. What your playing history, and obviously you said you were an assistant at Sault College, but what was your playing history? As a younger guy.
Yeah, so I played junior hockey in the NOJHL for Blind River, which is about an hour and a half from Sault Ste. Marie.
Okay.
For the Blind River Beavers, and then from there I went on to play at Marion University, NCAA Division III, and I graduated with a double major in accounting and finance. And then I decided to keep playing. I started off in the SPHL for Louisiana. I played for the Louisiana Ice Gators for a bit, and then before I was called up to the Wheeling Nailers of the East Coast League. From there, I decided to go to Italy, played a year in Cortina over in Italy, and then came back, coached at Concordia University of Wisconsin as an assistant for their D3 team. And then the first year they were an ACHA team, Division II. I head coached that program. That was my first year coaching. So I stayed there for a year. I graduated with an MBA. I went to school there as well.
Yeah.
And then after that, decided to go back to Italy, where I started coaching pro for the Milano Rosso Blu in Milan, Italy. And then halfway through the year, a couple of the imports were injured. So I decided they were going to dress me because I was only a year and a half out of playing. So now I was the player coach for the hockey league. So I got to experience that, which was a little different, but it was kind of fun at the same time, a little stressful. But then decided to hang them up and move back home to Sault Ste. Marie, where, now I'm working as an accountant for a construction company here in the Sault, Saldan Construction Group. And they allow me to also coach at Sault College. So
that's fantastic.
It's been a wild hockey journey.
May I ask, how did you end up in Italy?
It was an ex-coach of mine that coached me in Louisiana. He has his Italian passport and took the team in Cortina. So he gave me a call and said, "Hey, are you interested in coming overseas?" I said, "Absolutely." So
good for you.
Yeah.
That's exciting. That sounds like sounds like you really enjoyed it over there.
I really enjoyed it. It was fantastic experience.
Who's your favorite NHL team?
I'm a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, but I'm also a Pens fan too. You always have to have a backup team when you're a Leafs fan, right? So,
well, I used to say that about the Lions when I was a kid, but we went to the NFC title game. I mean, now I was alive when they went 91. Obviously, I'm almost 60, but no, a Pens fan. Huh? I can live with you being a Maple Leafs fan. Pittsburgh. Yeah. Tanner, you and I may have to talk when I meet up with you.
I've got some family ties to Pittsburgh.
Okay,
so I'm kind of obligated to go for the Pens.
All right, fair enough. Since we've had our run-ins being a Red Wings fan, but it's funny because I'm also Montreal's my second team because I've got family that in Montreal, so it's kind of funny. So
nice.
Well, Tanner, this has been fun. I appreciate you taking time out. It's great to finally catch up with you. Since I'm based out of Lansing, I'm going to be over that way for the regionals in February. So I'll try to come find you and say hi, meet you in person.
Absolutely. I look forward to that, Lou. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good luck the rest of the year. Keep her going, and hopefully you can keep the run all the way to St. Louis.
Awesome. Thank you. Really appreciate that.
All right.
Take care.
You bet. You too. Tanner Burton, the head coach of the Sault College Cougars ACHA Men's Division II team. We're going to take a look at the regional setting or the rankings right now after this quick break in a minute. And we'll kind of tell you whereabouts they are at as they make their trek first to get through the regular season. As you mentioned, they've got 3 games left. And then it looks like they're going to be heading to Grand Rapids for the Central Regional Tournament, where we'll break it down, where they take the top 2 teams in each region get an automatic berth, and then the next 2 that come from each region play in a bracketed style tournament. We'll talk about that here in a moment. So we're going to take a quick break, and we come back. We'll go through the rankings in all the divisions real quick and kind of give you an idea of what's happening in the ACHA. You're watching the ACHA Power Play. It is live here on 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ACHA Power Play live here on 12 Ounce Sports and Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. You can also watch us live on our Facebook pages, 12 Ounce Sports, and, of course, the Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. Watch us on Twitter on 12 Ounce Sports, or my Twitter handle, which is at The Real Captain Lou. I invite you to follow us both on there. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, 12 Ounce Sports and the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. All of our programming is on there. And again, it's great to be back with everybody at 12 Ounce Sports. Jeff, I want to thank him for welcoming us back with open arms anyways, and not the alligator arms like the Lions had in the third quarter. But I digress. Anyways, thanks to Tanner Burton from Sault College for taking time out tonight to be with us here on the program as they get ready to go for the national tournament. They've got 3 games left of the regular season. February 1st is Thursday. Like we were talking with head coach Jenna Trubiano in the last half hour from the University of Michigan women's ACHA D1 team. It just seems like we were starting out our 7th season here of the ACHA Power Play, 6 months away from St. Louis. And right now we're less than 6 weeks away. It's 37 days before puck drop for the men's Division I and Division III tournaments. So we talked about the rankings, and I'm going to see if I can't bring these up here real quick. So maybe I will not be able to here. Nope, I will not be able to. So anyways, I'm still a work in progress. I thought I had to be able to do that. I guess not. All right. Anyways, that's the magic of live TV. But I can tell you what the rankings are for men's D2. How's that sound? Let's go to that. We talked about it before the break. Each in men's Division II, they have a regional qualifying tournament. It's going to be the weekend of February 23rd through the 25th. And how that works to get into the national tournament at the men's D2 level, the top 2 teams in each region, they get the automatic berths. So they don't have to worry about the gauntlet that is this regional tournament, because teams 3 through 14 will now play in a single elimination style tournament over that weekend. And teams 3 through 6, they get buys into the first round of that regional tournament. We talk about teams that make that gauntlet 3 games in 3 days. One of the teams that went to the national championship game last year in D2, that being Iowa, they were 9th in their region last year. And so they had to win 3 straight games, single elimination, just to get into the national tournament. And then they made that incredible run, the historic run, all the way to the championship game where they fell to UMass, but they really did well. But in the rankings, in the central ranking, we talked about that since we'll talk about that first, since Sault College is in that central region. Teams 1 and 2 right now, if the tournament ended, it would be Lindenwood and St. Thomas. The Tommies went to the Final Four last year as well in the men's Division II. So they're looking to get back to the national tournament scene. But those 2 teams would have the automatic berth. Then you've got Concordia of Wisconsin at 3, Iowa at 4. Then you've got Adrian at 5, Crookston at 6. Then you've got Michigan State at 7, Sault College at 8, Jamestown at 9, Wisconsin at 10, Maryville at 11, DePaul at 12, Lake Superior State at 13, and the Minnesota Golden Gophers at 14. So if you don't make the top 2, ideally, you would like to be in that 3 through 6 range, because then you can get that first day off. You would get a bye into the second round. In the Northeast, Northeastern and New Hampshire are 1 and 2. They keep flip-flopping a little bit with RPI and Keene State. They're 3 and 4 respectively. Then you've got Army, UMass Amherst, Bentley, Sacred Heart, Boston University, St. Anselm, Clarkston, Boston College, Siena, and Connecticut are rounding out the top 14 there. And then in the Southeast, Florida Gulf Coast, a mainstay every year. We talk about Bob Brinkworth's team, always in the national tournament, it seems. They're ranked number 1. Indiana is 2. No, they were in the semifinals last year as well, losing that heartbreaker to Iowa in double overtime. They're number 2 right now. They would get the auto berth. Liberty's 3, Kentucky is 4, Miami 5, North Carolina 6, Ohio 7, North Carolina State is 8th, Penn State 9, Rider 10, Michigan is 11th, Pennsylvania 12, Louisville 13th, and North Carolina Wilmington is 14th. So that's kind of what you're looking at right there. And finally, in the West, Montana State and Denver are 1 and 2. Denver making a huge jump. They were 6th in the previous ranking. Providence is 3rd. Weber State is 4. Loyola Marymount is 5. Utah State is 6. Denver 7. Montana is 8. Boise is 9. Texas is 10th. UCLA is 11th. Southern Methodist is 12th. Dakota College of Bottineau, a team very familiar with the national tournament scene, they're at 13. And Northern Arizona is at 14. So that's your rankings right now in Division II. Now, real quick, see if I can bring up, just kind of give you an idea. Now, those national tournaments, or those, all right, I seem to have lost. Oh, here we go. Again, just trying to get back in the swing of things here. The men's regional tournaments, we mentioned the February 23rd through the 25th. The Central region will be at the Patterson Ice Center in Grand Rapids. The Northeast will be at the Keene Ice Center. And then the Southeast regional is going to be in Athens, Ohio at the Bird Arena. And at the Eccles Ice Center, that's going to be where the West regional is going to be. The host team is Utah State. So those are the dates to keep in mind for the regional tournament in men's Division II. Again, single elimination. The top 2 teams in each region, they get the automatic berth. They don't have to go through that gauntlet. But 3 through 14, they got to sweat it out to get those other two berths. And then 4 teams from each region, they go into pool play. And that's going to be March 11th through the 15th. That's when the national tournament is going to be starting off in men's Division II. We talked about it, men's Division I. They're 7th through the 12th, along with men's Division III. Men's Division III starting pool play that day. Men's Division I, their single elimination tournament in their playoff format. The current rankings for men's Division I, the new ones will probably come out tomorrow. Minot State and Adrian, they're 1 and 2. Adrian with a weekend sweep over Calvin this past weekend, a couple of big games there. Central Oklahoma is 3rd. Jamestown is 4th. Nevada, Las Vegas is 5. Maryville 6. Liberty is 7. Ohio 8. Niagara is 9. University of Mary is 10th. They had a big win last Wednesday over the top-ranked Minot State Beavers. So we'll see what that does for University of Mary's rankings. We'll see if that bumps them up at all. Purdue Northwest is 11. Calvin is 12. Pittsburgh is 13. Grand Valley at 14. Illinois State at 15. Utah at 16. Arizona at 17. Indiana Tech at 18. Delaware at 19. Missouri State at 20. Iowa State at 21. Westchester at 22. Colorado at 23. And Oklahoma sits at 24. Now, with the men's D1, there are 8 automatic berths that are going to be given out for conference champions, either regular season or in their tournament play. So that leaves 16 at-large bids, if you will. So, again, just like in women's D1, where they've got 3 auto berths, you're going to want to kind of keep it in the top. To be safe, you want to be in the top 16. You might be able to get in around the top 18 or 19. It's going to come right down to the wire. And that's the beauty of the ACHA Power Play is we will be here every week to keep you updated on all of that that's going on. Real quick, in the men's D3 rankings. Now, these were as of a couple of weeks ago. I believe the next ranking are coming out this week. The number 1 team in the land, Grand Valley, although they suffered their first loss this past weekend to the 5th-ranked team in Hope College, they split this weekend, each winning on their own home ice. Hope beating Grand Valley in overtime on Friday night, and then Grand Valley beating Hope 2-1. So 2 powerhouses in Division III doing battle this weekend. Gulf Coast from Florida, another team. You talk about powerhouses. They seem to be there every year. They're ranked number 2. Lawrence Tech, Ken Gaffney's team, ranked 3rd. Missouri at 4. The Air Force Academy, seems like they're always at the national tournament. They're 6th. Michigan State making a run. They're at 7. Dartmouth at 8. Colby College at 9. Arkansas at 10. Calvin at 11. And then you've got Oakland at 12. Michigan at 13. And then Colorado School of the Mines at 14. Purdue at 15. And Saginaw Valley, they fall to 16th, although they had a big weekend sweep. So we'll see if they bump back up. So, and finally, women's Division II. Let's go over the rankings real quick there. Villanova and the Naval Academy are 1 and 2 in their Southeast regional with these latest rankings that came out last week. Delaware is 3rd. Liberty is at 4. Ohio State at 5. And Niagara at 6. In the Northeast, Northeastern and Providence are 1 and 2. Boston College, Assumption, Vermont, and Boston U. Then in the Central region, Sioux College, the defending champions, suffered their first loss. They're at 14-1, but they're still number 1. Central Michigan bumps up to 2. Lawrence Tech is at 3. Adrian at 4. Northern at 5. And finally in the West, Assiniboine, championship pedigreed team there. They're looking to get back to the top of the mountain after they were dethroned by Sioux College last year. They're number 1 in the West. Dakota College is at 2. St. Thomas at 3. Wisconsin at 4. Wisconsin Eau Claire at 5. And North Dakota at 6. So there you go. There's the rankings for the regionals, or I'm sorry, for all 5 divisions. We told you about the women's rankings in the first half hour as Midland rather, and Liberty flip-flop again. They're at 1 and 2, and Adrian is at 3. So a lot of powerhouses in women's Division 1, as I mentioned. So there you go. Well, that's going to just about do it here tonight. We want to thank everybody for joining us here on the ACHA Power Play here on 12 Ounce Sports, and of course the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube. We want to thank our guests, Jenna Trubiano, the head coach of the University of Michigan's women's D1 program. They're focused, I can tell. She's got her game face on. She's, they're on a mission. They went to the Nationals last year. You can tell that's their goal, to get back. And like we said, once you get there, it's anybody's contest in that national tournament. I want to thank Tanner Burton as well, the new head coach at Sault College. Sault College, of course, back a few years ago when they were a D3 team, powerhouses in ACHA D3. They bumped up, and they're getting, you can tell they're starting to make their way back up into the national scene. So they've got 3 games left, and Tanner kind enough to join us here on the show. All right, that's going to do it. We'll be back next Tuesday with another edition of the ACHA Power Play, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We invite you to join us then. We'll have a complete list of our coaches and our interviews that are lined up. Make sure you follow me on Twitter or X at The Real Captain Lou, and I'll get you. You'll see that, and also on our Captain Lou Extravaganza Facebook page. And we want to thank everybody at 12 Ounce Sports one more time. It's great to be back with Jeff and all the gang. We're going to have a lot of fun here, and I can't wait to bring you more of the ACHA Power Play again next week. All right, that's going to do it. As we mentioned, Captain Lou saying, keep your heads up, keep your sticks down, keep your feet moving, and as always, keep your minds open. Join us next Tuesday for another edition of the ACHA Power Play here on the Captain Lou Sports Network on YouTube, and of course, 12 Ounce Sports. So long.